Sure.
I wanted to ask, this is something that seems to me it could be very disruptive to the children involved. And I was just wondering if there are other school districts that have been in a similar situation, which we don't have to district anyone, but if we choose to, are there ways that other districts have solved this type of problem in a less disruptive way? There are at least 5 other schools in our DIRG that have a similar post imbalance issue. So I was just wondering if we looked at how anybody else has handled something or.
First of all, those other school districts within our DIRG are alliance school districts, and they've been receiving millions of dollars more than we receive from the state for the past 3 years, since education reform came on board. So, you know, we've been doing it by ourselves, and on the backs of the taxpayers of Torrington.
But I mean the districts that are
But
currently have this, are currently in a similar situation as us.
that's what I'm saying, they have money to make whatever they have to do and make the shifts and move. We're doing this within our existing budget. And we can let it go. We can let it sit. We would have a plan for children that, whoever the children that would move to East, first of all, we have to have parent meetings, then we have to have, parents still have school choice, so they could say, yes, I would like my child to remain at Vogel, and we would have to honor and respect that. The third piece that we would have to do is we would plan for the children who were moving to go up and spend a day at East School and see the classroom that they'd be in next year and meet classroom mates, and you know, we would have a whole transition program in place. I haven't planned that far, because the first thing is the board even interested in doing this, or no, we'll wait and see what the state has to say.
Well, yeah, 'cause, I mean, I looked at the state statute that governs this sort of the racial imbalance and remediating that, and it looks like it's something that is supposed to be handled by the Board of Education. That the Board of Education is supposed to be the ones that put together a plan and then go through the various steps if they decide to move forward with it, like conducting a public hearing and submitting it to the state and all those things. So that's, I was just wondering if there's going to be an opportunity in the future for the board as a whole to discuss this, or if a subcommittee would be formed, rather than
that's full
one
district.
plan and then.
That plans like that are like full district. When you, like in 2007, how they moved children in every school, in every elementary school around. That's what happened in Torrington in 2007. This, we're just trying to make the balance between the 2 schools without disrupting every child in every school.
But that's because you're concerned about us eventually not being in compliance with the racial imbalance law. And that's what I'm referencing is the state statute, the regulations to implement the racial imbalance law. So that's what I was just wondering, because I know this is my first meeting as a full board member, and maybe there's something I missed, but I didn't know if there was ever a time where this board was given the opportunity to, as a group, discuss whether or not we want to do this and what possible plans there might be.
We're actually just starting that.
Okay.
This was the first opening of that dialogue, and then we have until July 1st to have a decision on what we want to do. So
Why
we'll-
is July 1st is the deadline because of?
No, it's just the start of the next year.
Right.
So you would, if you were moving a child, you would have to notify them prior to that. So we have time to vet this through as we move through the rest of the year.
Well, that was what I thought. I mean, I didn't think that it had been discussed, but
Well,
rather than it being the board putting together a plan, it seemed like there was a plan coming from the superintendent and the board choosing to accept or deny it. And so it just, I was just concerned, not concerned, but confused a little bit about the trajectory of that.
It's generally the way most of the plans, you know, the administration identifies an issue and comes up with solutions, and then the board evaluates those solutions and decides which direction they, you know, if they support the solution or they don't. I mean, there's times when we said, nope, we don't support that, and they have to go back to the drawing board and come up with something. Because we don't have, as board members, generally have the detailed intricacy. It's a tough word. We don't have the drilled down detail that they have as far as like which students, which streets. We don't have that information, so we rely on the administration generally to give us a recommendation, and if we say, no, we don't like that recommendation, then we say, go back to the drawing board and try again. Yeah.
But it was brought to the board last spring.
What meeting, do you remember?
I was just mentioning, we had the racial
Yeah,
balance,
yeah,
there wasn't a plan in place.
Yeah, no, because I looked back, because I was trying to, as I sought to educate myself on this issue more, I was trying to figure out where this issue began being discussed, and I wasn't really able to figure that out.
Yeah.
There was a couple little brief mentions, a letter given, but this was really the first time anything substantive, as far as I could see.
That's correct.
And it was in the form of a plan, and so that was why I was wondering why there wasn't more discussion prior to that.
More than a plan, though, it's taking a look at 3 problems that the district faces, and how can we come up with at least a solution or direction to go into before, because if you do it piecemeal, it's like, well, I thought we already discussed this, I thought we, you try to at least, it's an education process for the board to become aware of what has to be done within the district, so 3 challenges.
Assuming that all of those challenges need to be tackled in this specific way.
Well, it's
Right,
also
'cause-
if the board wants to decide to tackle the problems.
Because the whole plan, the first part of the whole plan is the redistricting due to the racial balance, and that's something that's optional. So if you were to remove that from the plan, would the other 2 pieces of the plan still work? Could you renovate Southeast School and then just move the special ed kids into there when it's open?
Yes.
They're all, I believe they're all completely they're completely independent entities. I mean, if you redistrict the kids, the special ed goes to both. Special ed pre-K goes to both. And Southeast is a standalone, you do it, you don't do it, you do it, you move the kids there eventually, or you just give the property back to the city and say, we've changed our mind, we don't want it. You could not do the redistricting, you could do Southeast School, and you could move pre-K in there and develop it as a child center and never do the redistricting. I think they're all independent, but I think what the superintendent's intent was to try to kill multiple birds with one stone. Try to cast it all in one net. But I believe they're all independent. Is that correct?
If we can find other space.
Has the administration considered any other use of Southeast School other than pre-K, such as an alternative program for K-12? Or has it only been looked at for pre-K?
Okay, I would not do an alternative program K through 12 because
Not
then we
K-12,
would.
or now that we're doing the secondary, 6 through 12.
Right. There's 2 things that with administration that I've begun discussion with. There's another property that I was called and asked if we'd be interested in for an alternative school. We're looking, I met with Eric, and what if we had the alternative school here at the high school? So we're just beginning to explore what other, both at the elementary and at the secondary level, what we need as we look to the future for Torrington Public Schools.
Yeah, and I've been vocal, and I will continue to be vocal, that I have strong concerns about the high school. And I continue to have strong concerns about the high school. So I would like to see, I'm not saying that pre-K we don't need to focus on, but from my standpoint, I'm very concerned about the high school and a plan that we have in place for how we're going to proceed forward with the high school and dealing with the problems that a lot of these students have.
For
at the
lack of
middle school.
engagement and, yep,
Lack of engagement, lack of.
poor attendance, all the things that mark them for students at risk.
What are you talking about, alternative school for what?
I was just
No,
asking.
she
you-
said that, the superintendent said you've been discussing an alternative school?
No, it's within our options, what we can offer. I don't want to say a lot because it's been a conversation between me and other people in education that we work with on a daily basis. And when I have something that I can say, boom, 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 then I'll bring it forward. Okay?
Well, I mean, it
Then
goes to the
we're
lack of
looking at the needs.
transparency.
But in the middle of a negotiation,
it
you
does.
can't throw all the cards on the table.
But not only
Because then-
that, transparency.
I mean, if
Let
you
me
have
ask
a
you a
problem
question.
in the school district, if you have some problem in the high school, then why aren't you presenting it to the board for discussion versus having private conversations with, I don't know who you're having these private conversations with, about problems that the board should be addressing as a Board of Education?
And when I have,
Andrew, we talk every year about how we got rid of our alternative school, and now we have all these kids just in the high school, where the high school really isn't a fit for them, so that's not new. That's not a new problem. We've had that problem since they closed Southeast School, and these kids got mainstreamed back up here where they aren't succeeding.
but that's why we're looking at options. And maybe if we start it in 6th grade, we can prevent it, all right? But I will not share my research and what I've been doing until I have something solid that I can bring to the board.
And to me, I think that's the most glaring administrative problem I've seen over the years, which is with the board and the administration, which is how things are presented to the board in this piecemeal way where we don't ever seem to put together a nice total picture to see exactly everything in the district so we can analyze how we allocate our resources, both economically and staff, to address the entire picture. You can't just keep doing this where you feel that I'll make an administrative change to the district and it's just that one little aspect that you're addressing. No, it's an entire school district issue, and now we're talking about several different issues tonight, which I don't even know if that was the intent, to have this broad discussion. But now we're starting to learn there's such an interconnection going forward with what this district needs to do in the next several years, and I think we're doing it too much in a piecemeal way. I think we need to analyze this in a much more broader concept. I think that's your obligation as a superintendent, to try to present like and I'm not trying to be in any way adversarial to you. I'm just trying to say, as a superintendent, I think you need to look at all of the concerns you have for the district and try to bring them all forth in a comprehensive package so we as a board can vet through all of your concerns and try to prioritize going forward what we need, what we feel we have to do, what we can delay, and what we just don't want to do, period.
And tonight, I tried to bring
Yeah.
3.
Right.
And for January, I'm gonna have you look at secondary,
Right.
okay? Because these pieces are needed, and how you want me to respond so they can get in the budget, so then we can move next year in the direction, as then you create more goals, okay, as a board. So tonight you saw elementary, early childhood. In January, you'll see secondary, okay? And I just don't have handouts. I don't want to talk off the cuff. I want to give you something that's put together and you can take and then shred it if you want, okay?
Thank you.
Right, as far as the Southeast School, we want to have them continue moving and looking at options of how to use it, even if it's potential as a temporary solution for the e-school project, as a secondary. Do we want them to start conversations with the unions to see if it's going to be an issue? How do we feel?
I'll go first. I'd like to have more of a comprehensive overview of where the superintendent wants the entire district to go from K through 12 and now pre-K, and have more data presented to us of all the needs that the superintendent thinks this district needs to move forward. I'd like to see it in a more comprehensive package.
So you want this put on hold until you have a full picture?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Bill?
I think with what's been presented tonight and the answers to the questions that I asked, I'm still concerned about the compliance aspect and how the interplay between the students with special needs and their non-disabled peers play out. I'm, you know, I think that all options should be looked at and vetted to take care of the compliance problem, because of the three challenges that you presented tonight. I think the non-compliance of our students with special needs is the most challenging one.
Do you want to see them hold on the Southeast School project or continue to move forward on it?
I'd like them to, with what I've heard tonight, I'd like them to continue on Southeast School, on Southeast School with the knowledge that a contingency plan needs to be in place to make sure that the compliance problem is solved.
Okay, thank you. Jess?
I think that if we're just doing information gathering in reference to Southeast, there's no harm in that. I don't think we should do anything that commits us to one specific route or course of action. And I don't know, I'm not sure, like with the grants, I know that getting the grants is a big part of funding this, and I'm not sure, it sounds like these grants are very specific, so if we were to use the building for something else, I would think, affect that greatly.
Well, the grants are for early childhood
Yeah.
development, which could happen at another venue. It's just, we've been kicking around Southeast School. We asked the city for Southeast School back. We have Southeast School. It's on our capital budget coming up, whether we're gonna do anything with the school. We can always give it back to the city. If the board wants to think about this school and doing something with it, we have to give the administration a little more direction of, yes, we want them to do it, or no, we don't. I mean, either we have them review, looking through the building, and you know, if it's gonna be for an early childhood, then they go and they talk to the respective unions and see if there is room for a combined service. I mean, that could be the nail in the coffin right there. I mean, that could be the next step that says, no, can't do it. I mean, I'm just trying to see if we want them to continue down this path, or we want them to not waste their resources on that path and research something else.
I would say yes, to gathering information.
Jeff? No, you've absorbed all that.
A great meeting to start.
Actually, I'd say yes to go ahead looking at special ed, see if it's feasible with the other unions. At the same time, if it's possible to push that at a later date and use that as the school temporary housing. So see which plan will actually benefit more kids overall. So if we can use the school, while the school's being renovated, use it that way. If not, then special ed, if the unions come and approve that. So more information would help.
I agree, more information, maybe another presentation like this one, showing what it would be for an alternative school. But also keep it open for the renovation of the school, so that we can see everything. Still gather information.
I'm happy to get more information, but I would not want us to be committing to anything at this point.
Okay, I want to be clear about a couple of things real quick. I'll try to be quick because I know we've been talking a lot about this. I would definitely like more information. From the standpoint of the demographics by nature change every year over periods of time. We're looking at information from just a couple of years, so I would definitely like to see something that's a little more representative of a trend, so we kind of know what we're, you know what I'm saying?
I did that.
Okay.
Yeah,
it would be-
I looked at mobility.
Yep, which is what I'd like to see, just so I can say, okay, we're going this way, we're going that way. I'm an engineer, so I look at numbers, you know what I mean? So I need more numbers. From the standpoint of the special ed stuff, I'm gonna be honest, all the numbers, the 20, the 46, all that stuff, I'm totally confused. I have no idea where these kids are at. So if we can have something a little more comprehensive that says we have 5 kids here, 10 kids here, 100 kids here, whatever those numbers are, with a cool picture, I don't even care. Just something where I can wrap my head around it, other than just what we're talking about verbally.
You will, but,
Engineers like pie charts.
yeah, no.
Charts, graphs, yeah.
But you, then, and you'll see that in Yvette's piece.
Okay.
Okay? But you understand the different way we service them.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, some are in
That's-
buildings, some are,
So you see we're being creative with our
absolutely,
services.
absolutely.
And you understand, because you weren't on the board at the time, but it was to bring children back in district and serve them here.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you, because if they go out of district, it's a loss. I'm good there. What was the other thing? Oh, for the separate entities, we obviously have to have that conversation with the union. The other thing we need to think about is why we're letting them do it for nothing. I would like to know if we can charge rent, if
Yes,
that
we
ruins
can.
things. So just, you know what I mean, I'm just thinking from a business standpoint, I mean, if they're using our space,
No, I got it right here. Can use taxpayer dollars to support not-for-profit, non-revenue generating tenants. Is that too? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's what it comes down
I mean, real estate's good money, but it doesn't sound like it in this particular sense, so.
Can we charge rent on within the grant?
These are answers we want for the future.
Right, yeah, I don't need to
No,
write
I
right
was
this
gonna-
second.
Yep.
Just because I see this deficit to the taxpayers of 848, 668, and I don't like that part of it. Just from a, you know, taking the kid portion out of it for a second and just looking at that. So I want to get my head wrapped around those items.
Information is always welcome. I definitely wouldn't want to proceed any further without buy-in from all 3 unions. Because if the unions say no, they're not going to work alongside, and it's according to public school building, and they want everything, then, well, that changes our numbers drastically. So, I want that before I move forward on anything else.
It's not unusual for boards of education to have facility committees. We don't. And because of that, it puts the superintendent and the whole board in the position of having to anticipate these things and investigate these things. And it gives, and I agree, there's the appearance of a lack of transparency here, because things get presented to us when they're already fairly well along. It's our own fault for not having a facility committee to pay a little bit more attention to this. But it also means we end up with these runaround discussions as we have had tonight, because there hasn't been any structure from a facilities report that would give us a lot of the information that we have said that we need as we go around the table. As far as, do I want to hear more about this? We've been beating this dead horse for a while. And granted, it's a little bit more advanced every time we hear about it, but I would love to put it on hold until we actually get a better idea of what our needs are going to be. We've already done a lot of it. Look at the planning, it's good. We know what's available to us. We just have to decide what we want to do about that.
Thank you. Okay. Joe, could you grab your pretty picture out of there? STEM K through 12? That's what I like. If I get up, I'm going. If you let me out the door, I'm going to keep going.